Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ready to start back up again. If you could, please take your seats. The papers that will be presented in contest session 3 are about health and education and assessment of MDGs. As we did in session 2, all the presenters must finish their presentation with 18 minutes, and 2 or more judges will make brief comments on the paper. Now, I'm going to invite the first presenter from Mexico. The title of the paper is Teenagers and Youth in School Attrition in a Marginalized Urban Area. Please welcome them with a warm round of applause.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. Good evening. We are Ángeles Gallegos, Angélica Barrera, and Professor Liliana López. We represent CETIS Universidad. Today, we're going to talk about school attrition in a marginalized urban area of Tijuana City. But why? Well, currently, there are young people in Mexico facing a situation of school attrition and a lack of job opportunities. This group of people is called ninis, and although it's not a theoretical category, this concept helps to understand what's happening. This group of young people are living in social conditions of discrimination, marginalization, and social exclusion. That's why the objective of this project is to understand the discourse of the inhabitants of the neighborhoods El Niño and Valle Bonito in Tijuana. And these are the questions. What is the context of the El Niño and Valle Bonito neighborhoods in relation to school attrition? What is the context in these neighborhoods in relation to the social environment? What is the discourse of the inhabitants in El Niño and Valle Bonito? Well, I have to say, in Mexico, this problem is not simple. There are more teenagers living in a situation that driving away from a preparation for the future by not having access to education. This phenomenon, as we know, it's not new and has many causes, since economics, familiar, social, and environment factors might intervene. In Mexico, there are 36.2 million of young people in the age of 12 and 29, according to the National Survey of Youth, and there are more than 7 million of minors living in a situation who neither study or work. It's painful to say, but 22 of 100 pupils leave the school at elementary level. On the way to junior high school, another 10 drop out. And of the remaining 68, only the half will graduate. Only 14 will graduate from professional studies. As I said before, the term Nini refers to a segment of population that are not working or not studying. Not studying and not working in Spanish is say ni estudia ni trabaja. It's an analogy, an informal concept. And it's a concept, a phenomenon that also occurring in other countries. And I have to say the concept doesn't have an accurate definition in the journalistic or academic field. For example, in Perez, ninis are identified as an upper-class kid that doesn't pursue anything but by their own conviction. And in these neighborhoods, it's not the case. Barberia and Reguillo say that ninis are a concept related to an economic system that is in a work context that doesn't offer many alternatives for the young people. And what do the thinkers and social scientists say about this? Well, thinkers such as Bauman, Lipovetsky, and Beck, among others, claim that in this time, the individual experienced a number of difficulties associated with individuality and little connection with others and the environment. In terms of the rich society, from Beck, individuals have little faith in what the school can provide them as a space for knowledge or training. They also believe that a school and family, as well as other institutions, are in a series of crises or risks, which, although already observed in the past, are now intensified. Sadly, a school is commonly thought from its instrumental sense, like study to get a job, study to get a job. And the problem of school attrition, it's a phenomenon that comes from this disconnection from family, school, and life project. Now, my partner, Angelica Barrera, will talk about the methodology and context.
The methodology used was a qualitative approach to understand the reason for Nini situation, based on research done in the children of precariousness. The steps used to know and understand information received by the participant were the following: gather information through interviews and focus group, analyze and interpret results. The instrument used was a semi-structured questionnaire based on different categories and research questions. Categories such as demographic data, family relationship, social integration, perception about school, work, and life. And research questions such as family. How is the relationship with your family? What activities you do with your family? And school. What are they not currently studying? What was their parent opinion about the school? Individual interviews were conducted with teenagers, parents, police, teachers, religious and community leaders. The research was conducted in the city of Tijuana. The city is located in the northwest state of Baja California. It has a population of 1.5 million people. The city is divided into 9 administrative districts. The district is divided into neighborhoods called colonias. Tijuana is the most popular city in the state of Baja California, which makes it the third largest popular city in the country. The city also is one of the most important due to the proximity with the United States, considered internationally as the most visited border in the world. Population in Tijuana is growing, receiving residents from other states of Mexico. The city of Tijuana received more 19 million tourists crossing the border with the United States, representing in average 50,000 visitors per day. The city has 46 areas of poverty in which almost 500,000 people live. The research was conducted in two neighborhoods in Tijuana, Valle Bonito and El Niño. Valle Bonito has a total population 600 residents, and El Niño has a total population of 5,500 residents. Both neighborhoods lack access to public service. These neighborhoods are considered to be marginalized due to the lack of paved roads, health centers, drainage, street lighting, and other basic services. As for education offered of the residents, they only have access to public elementary and secondary school. As high school and other education centers are located at a great distance from the neighborhoods. Here we can see a photo to the neighborhood mentioned before. As you can see, their houses are made with concrete blocks, materials that have been reused, like tents, pieces of wood, tires, carbon, among others. Both neighborhoods have existed for about 20 years and have been populated by people from other states of Mexico. My partner, Angeles, presents you the result of this research.
What did we find? In those neighborhoods, the teachers expressed that the parents give low priority to the school. On the other hand, the students complain about the teachers because they say that they don't feel support by the teachers. They complain about not have spaces available to attend the school. It's a situation that involves parents, teachers, students, and we can see that there is a disconnection between school, family, and life project. Please think about about your recreational options. Think about this. I want to show you this picture. This is a grocery store. In those neighborhoods, this is only what they have for recreational activities. It's a grocery store. They meet there to drink beer, smoke, and some of them smoke marijuana. They don't have anything else. They think that that is the life. The lack of parental presence at home is another issue. Parents have to work long work shifts. Why? Because they have 3, 4, 5, even 7 children, and they need to pay for food, for rent. And the young people complain about this. Why? Because they don't have communication with the parents. The parents are not there. They need to work. The young people don't feel attachment. They need communication. They don't have communication with the parents. They don't have affection. The lack of financial resources push the young people to leave the school. Why? Because they have to help the parents with the household expenses. They have to leave the school because the parents have to choose who is going to attend the school. Again, the parents have 3, 4, even 7 children, and they have to decide who is going to attend the school. They can pay for each child. It's a really very difficult situation. Another point is about the drug addiction. At very young age, in those neighborhoods, the children have contact with the drugs, vandalism, and groups where they only, the activity is only to consume or sell drugs. That is why they live each day. They don't have a life project. They think that this is what is the life. They don't see more. When you ask them about the school, what they want to do, what they think about the school, if they want to continue studying, they say, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue in the school. They don't know. The speech is oriented toward frustration, but mostly toward apathy for work or school. We have some proposals are following: sport activities, health campaigns to improve life quality, more public transportation because they have to walk very, very long distance, opportunities for part-time jobs. We think that is very important to give the teachers the opportunity to know where are those neighborhoods, the characteristics of the neighborhoods, and to understand that it's very important the relationship between the teacher, the family, and the student. Provide opportunities for students to socialize with another students. Give them the opportunity to go to another schools, to meet another students, and be part of the government development plans. And the question is, now we have a picture about what is happening on those neighborhoods. What are we going to do as a society today for them? Thank you.
Now we would like to hear the judges' comment on the paper.
Thank you. Thank you for a challenging paper in the sense of it's challenging us all to pay attention to some entrenched problems that affect education at not just in Mexico, though. These problems, in my experience, are widespread in not just developing countries, underdeveloped, but highly developed countries as well. And one of the ways that you help us all is by paying attention to the local language. I think it's very helpful, actually, to adopt the term ninis, for example, in your work, because that's what they are known to themselves as, and you take up the language. It's kind of like the language of the oppressed from another Latin American scholar who paid attention to educational practices as well. I think that's commendable, and that itself shows a way forward for other researchers to investigate this, not through macroeconomic numbers and statistics, but by listening to what are the problems as those who are affected understand them. So I applaud you for that. I think that's very helpful. The presentation also carries with it the sense of urgency in the way that you present it, and not just as in facts and figures, but an agonism is present, and it encourages us all to share in that suffering and sadness, the brokenness. I think that in itself is a huge contribution. One area that I would encourage you to look at is to look at, especially in Mexico, that there are very few other options in terms of education that actually at the macro level does shape the behaviors of your participants, even though they don't know it. It's hard to know that you lack an alternative that previous generations did, right? I mean, there were networks of educational opportunities that the Catholic Church provided in Mexico up until the revolution. Those are now gone. So, that's one of the areas in which education reformers are looking at, both north of the border, but in many other countries. India has begun to diversify the offerings by opening up opportunities for non-state actors to provide education. You might look at those as other opportunities for reform ideas to come through. That is that those are the non-governmental agencies are ones that can help provide connections between what you described, I think rightly, as the disconnects between school and family and life. Those non-state actors are actually key players in bringing those things together, and that might help understand some of the ways forward for your research. And then the last thing I wanted to also compliment you on was putting a human face on infrastructural development. When we look at some of the largest cities in the world, not just Mexico City, but Lagos or Tijuana, we call them not mega cities as in just big, but meta cities, because they are not quite fully cities. They don't have the normal services provided to its citizens that a city would do so. So urban dwellers of this type often represent more rural populations in their lack of access to infrastructure. So I appreciated your putting a human face on that. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you for your nice presentation. Your team's name is Maria Angelis. That's your team's name, right? It reminds me of Charlie's Angels, three of you. I think that it's very happy to see many female presenters who deliver very good speech. But I think that when it comes to gender equality issue, the problem is here. I mean, judges, all male judges. So it should be changed next year. One thing to be desired from your presentation is that I want to study further on how to raise money in this budget shortage to implement your proposals and how to do it more cost effectively. Thank you.
Can I just make one more very quick comment? I know that we're pressed for time. I'd like to second my first colleague's comments and the second colleague's comments as well. Matthew from UNDP. Congratulations, primarily, as my colleague said, putting a human face and attempting to get inside the head and the reality of some, quote, real people dealing with real-life problems that intersect a range of different social and societal and infrastructural issues. Congratulations for doing a massive effort on doing a series of interviews with key people involved, and for quoting some of them in your useful presentation. Just one point on presentation. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way about this, but me personally, I would have presented that as a story. I would have basically told one of the NIMI stories, what it's like on a day-to-day basis, and explain their situation, dropping in quotes to begin that. And I would have started with that and really told that story in the human way, making, really good use of all the research you've done further on down the line in that story to relate it to some of the wider problems. As I said, there's no black or white answer on this, but it might have worked better that way. Congrats.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, judges. And please give a big hand to the presenters from Mexico.
Thank you.
Now, Junya Ogasawara and the other fellow student from JF Oberlin University in Japan, will make a presentation. The title of the paper is Education and MDGs. Please welcome them with a warm round of applause.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jun-Hwa Sara and Hiroki Tanaka and Roya Kubota. We are all from Japan, and we are very delighted to be here. And thank you very much for inviting us to such a meaningful event. Someone talk about gender equality, but sorry, we are all males this time. But I'm sure we have lady members. So this time we don't have much time, so now I'd like to move on to the presentation. So in the world, there are global issues, and we thought there is something related to many of those problems, and that was education. So our paper focuses on education and aims to prove the importance of education at the international level by researching MDGs Goal 2 and relationships between education and other issues. So this is the roadmap of this presentation. Firstly, because education is focused on, it's about MDGs Goal 2. And secondly, actually in Bangladesh. And thirdly, actually in Japan. Also, relationships between education and other issues will be mentioned as well. And before we get started, we need to realize again that education is important for us. So we thought education contains those meanings, such as studying, learning, experience, and so on. Of course, it's not written in dictionaries, but obviously these are important for our lives. So, for instance, as for English, English is the second language for majority of us, but by learning it, now we can make a lot of new friends, and we can see the different world, and also we can broaden our horizons. And this means probably we are enriching our lives through education. So this means that education is important for our lives. And so in the next part, he's going to talk about the recent situation of the spread of education through Goal 2 and also relationships between education and other issues. So next presenter is still a freshman, Yoon Kubota.
From now, I would like to talk about the recent situation of MDGs Goal 2 and the relationship between education and other issues. Firstly, the enrollment has been improved in many regions. In Sub-Saharan Africa, its enrollment rate has increased from 54% to 76%. Southern Asia has made progress too, from 72% to 93%. However, behind those progresses, there are still many problems. For example, as of 2010, 61 million children are out of school. The big gaps of out-of-school children between rural and urban, rich and poor, boys and girls. The demand for secondary education are also big problems. Besides, universal primary education would be a full achievement. If the focus was simply on education, was simply on enrollment, rather than on the completion of primary education. As you can see from those comments, the quality of education is one of the programs in Goal 2. These are programs I mentioned. population of out-of-school children, quality of education, gaps between house location, household wealth, and sex, increase of demand for secondary education. In this presentation, I'd like to choose one problem, population of out-of-school children, and mention some of its causes. As you know, poverty is its main cause. It is a well-known fact that poor children have to work instead of going to school. Many parents want children to go to school, but there are many obstacles, and economic conditions of the household is one of them. In other words, poverty is taking away children's opportunities to receive education, and it keeps the population of out-of-school children large. Conflicts or diseases are also taking away educational opportunities. For example, if parents got AIDS, children must leave the school for taking care of them. Here is the relation between education and other problems. Those causes create vicious cycles. However, the fact that education is related to other programs means the improved in education program is effective for other programs and might solve them in the future. For example, if education is given to people, they are employed, they can earn money, and then next generation can receive education without leaving. Also, by the increase of employment opportunities, economic growth and poverty reduction are expectable, and diseases are taking away educational opportunities. But if basic education is given to people, they can prevent many diseases and don't need to leave the school. Furthermore, if educated women have children, those children will grow up much healthier. And child mortality will be decreased. Also, education is related to many other programs. So it means we can tackle them through education. MDGs Goal 2 has been assisting the progress in the education field. However, we cannot ignore the programs. Next speaker is Mr. Tanaka. He is going to explain the action which is leading to the solutions or programs I mentioned.
From now, I'd like to explain the action which is leading to the solutions of problems. First of all, about Bangladesh. Bangladesh is classified into the least developed country by UN. As for the poverty structure, literacy affects employment opportunities and incomes, and here we can see the vicious cycles of education and poverty again. I went to Bangladesh for volunteer work and saw many people who cannot reach the assistance for education or poverty because of the political instability. However, I saw that many NGOs are assisting those people and working hard for the spread of education or the poverty reduction too. So our paper picked out one local NGO called BRAC. BRAC is a huge NGO, microfinance, education, agriculture. Activities are so various and works on a global scale. Our paper focused one of the activities, non-formal education. because it contributes